Welcome to Bonded Voices. This episode is going to be our Father's Day episode. The three of us are fathers, and we have a good celebration hopefully coming up in the coming days. So this is Loren.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Greg.
And to everyone out there, happy Father's Day who's going to be celebrating with your families. And also recognize your own fathers in your life as well.
It's interesting how you say that. Your own fathers in your own life.
Yeah, some people have multiple.
Sure. Yeah. So my initial thought was there's a difference between dad and father. There is a difference between, like this person might be the DNA, but not necessarily the person that was most influential.
Right.
Or raised me.
Yeah.
And so I think it's interesting on Father's Day that we actually think about who do we look towards, who are we thankful for that helped us have the mindset that we do to be fathers for our children.
So what does it mean to be a father? That's a great way to kick us off with this one.
I'm not sure, really. I mean, it's being there as a guide to our children. I think that's the biggest one, being an example. Be there for support when they need support. That's really from a high level, I think.
Because, we all get that card, the best dad in the world. Right. The only one.
and a tie. Remember, you got to get the tie for Father's Day.
Thankfully, I've never had a tie. Yeah. And
socks?
Nor do I want one.
But, it's that's the thing. It always reminds me of the Seinfeld episode where Jerry gets the number one dad shirt. You think you're better than me? It's like the number one dad card. So I probably actually should do this year. Send one to myself. Look what I got.
Your kids were like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Where'd you as number two? It's like, but yeah, it's a big one because you get that and you think, was any thought go into that part, especially from younger children? And maybe we're in a day and age where there's so many fatherless homes that the card should read something like, well, thank goodness you're still here,
Well, I think it's...
Wow.
We're
That's
lucky.
a good turn.
Yeah.
Wow. Bringing it back to the happy side. Wow.
No, I didn't mean that in a bad way. It's almost, do kids even recognize other kids in their groups who probably don't have a father that's present?
Well, hopefully our kids don't actually understand that, right? They're all of our kids, we're all still present in our kids' lives. We're all still married.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, which is an oddity in this day and age, but I think that's probably part of being a father as well. The stability of the family, leading the family.
You had mentioned when you were defining fatherhood, providing guidance, and I thankfully still happily married, 2 parents, and I know that's a statistical anomaly in our household, but I've always envisioned that my wife and I are like the bumpers that are set up at the bowling alley when kids are just learning how to bowl.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And so it takes each of us on either side to bounce the kid back, and the goal is to get them to the end of the alley to hit the pins, and we're both there equally supporting and equally playing that role.
Because it is a Hallmark holiday, right? So I think it's probably only been around, and we should probably look it up.
How long has Hallmark been around?
No, not Hallmark. Father's Day, because it can't have been a celebratory day for too long. I think
you're right.
We're gonna have to find some way. There's got to be a way.
There was a device,
right, to look this up and figure out where it is. But yeah, while Loren looks that up, and we'll get the date on that. It's interesting, right? Because there's a bit of a oh no, not another Hallmark holiday. We have so many of them throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to throw the question out there. Maybe it's a grenade. Is it even worth having?
Ooh, good question. Well, I think the restaurants would say yes.
Yeah.
The restaurant industry definitely wants us to celebrate that. Same with the greeting cards.
Hallmark.
Hallmark, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, I don't know, I can only go off of my own experience, and
Wow, got you lost for words.
It's-
What's the date, Loren?
So the date is 1909.
That's when it started.
Yes. And it started in Washington, and it was to complement Mother's Day.
oh, so then what's the history of Mother's Day?
Man.
That should be on the Mother's Day episode, but so it probably came way before that, right? So let's just say they honoured mothers before that, and now all of a sudden they decided to honour fathers. And maybe there was, like, you think about 1909, pre-World War One, and it probably started in America, so there's probably no, because it's different around the world.
Sure.
Mother's Day and Father's Day in the UK are different than they are in America. So it was obviously started for, well, it may have just been a Hallmark holiday, but I imagine if it started in Washington, it was designated to honour fathers of some kind. I wonder if there was something going on back then. Hey, maybe if you're listening and you know why, you can educate us on that one, and we can publish it along with the page on the website as well. But yeah, it's a big one. I've had my years where I'm like, oh no, not another one of these holidays, and then others where I'm more appreciative of it.
I think I'm pretty lucky in this. My kids all of them will write me a card, and we don't do the traditional Hallmark cards. They'll get a piece of paper and they'll write me a note or something on it, and I'm always moved by what they say, because they'll come up with some things that really shock me sometimes, like, I didn't realize that made an impact to you. So they usually put something that was impactful. And
well, you've actually jumped the shark on one of my other questions, which was going to be like, should you actually buy a Hallmark card, or should you actually get your kids to actually...
I'm not a big fan. We do the same thing for Mother's Day. I'm not a big fan of cards,
right?
Because that's a sentiment of some writer. It's not your sentiment.
Yeah, and they won't write much in it if there's someone already
written
something in there as well.
Yeah.
What did you do in your house, Greg?
So it's interesting that you use the jump the shark analogy, because I don't think Fonzie was a dad.
Well,
At least that we knew of.
he may have been a dad, but not a father.
Oh, good point. Good point. Yeah.
There you go.
So Father's Day for us typically involves an activity, family activity out of the house, which I always enjoy. Last year it was I think I had to put on a blindfold and guess where we were going as we were driving, and so that was fun. And for me, it's as I become more like a fine wine in age, it's more about the trip than the destination. I am learning. And so for me, it was the fun of, I don't know where we're going, and just asking the questions, and it didn't really matter where we went. And we spent a fun afternoon together. And so, to your point, the cards are nice, the sentimental messages are much nicer. But for me, it's just time with family.
You are listening to Bonded Voices. Subscribe to us on your favorite podcast service or on the web at www.bondedvoices.com. Thank you to all our sponsors, and now back to the show.
That's what I look forward to.
So I think you've hit on something good there, which is as well the joy of a good marriage and being able to be celebrated, whether it's Mother's Day or Father's Day, within that good marriage probably means a lot more than, hi Dad, I haven't seen you in 6 months because your mum got divorced, but here's a card.
Sure, yeah.
Because it'd be hard to write the greatest dad in the world that I haven't seen for 6 months on that card. Although,
Because of what you did to mom, I don't talk to you.
all right, but then again, I was looking at you, Loren, with your military service. I'm thinking there's obviously a lot of military folks who are listening, going, not choice words for Ian there, because I've been deployed for 6 months and I haven't seen my kids.
Right.
But that's different, and hopefully they understand that's different. That you're serving. How was it in the military? Was it even something?
It wasn't. My experience with it, I didn't have kids at the time, so I didn't. I didn't bother myself with family
Right.
type stuff when I was in the
Your own
Marines.
father and the guys around you, that sort of stuff. You don't remember?
I don't. So as funny as I grew up celebrating Father's Day. My parents were divorced at a young age, so I wasn't around my dad a lot growing up, just because of he was gone. He lived in a different city for a while, and so I didn't do that. But for Father's Day growing up, I was always with my grandfather, and it was a big celebration there. And same with Mother's Day, it was with my grandmother and mother and all.
Would you do a Father's Day card for your grandfather?
Well, so it was one of those, everyone signed the card,
Oh, okay.
okay.
because it was my
Yeah.
mother's
Sure.
father, so.
Yeah. Because it's interesting, on Mother's Day, you are encouraged to buy something for your immediate circle of everyone who is a mother, whether they're your mother or not. I don't know if the same goes on Father's Day. Maybe we're being shortchanged a little bit. Right? We're just like, but maybe there's also a little bit more of a, I'd say stigma to it, but like if you've got kids with 4 different women, again, that difference between being a father, I don't think you can be a father to 4 different children in 4 different households. Just not enough time in the day. It's hard enough when you live with them to get that stuff done, let alone to be, because they're not going to all live in the same neighborhood.
Well, unless they're sister wives.
That's a whole other episode. Yeah,
We are in Arizona, so.
yeah, that's very true. Yeah, but yeah, and so there'd be an interesting Father's Day or Mother's Day card on that one. My goodness, yeah. But look, it's one of those where I actually think to myself that as much as I've had those moments of not enjoying it, that should it be a celebration for us that we're actually doing okay at being dads?
Well, I think that's what it's supposed to be to begin with. If you're a crappy dad, I mean, should you be celebrating?
No, absolutely not.
But I think, with us, we've all been, I would think all of our kids are relatively successful. They're going to college, graduating college, graduating high school. We're very successful in that. So I think we've done our job as fathers to get our kids to the next level.
Yeah. Okay, next bomb. Do fathers in prison get Father's Day cards?
I'm sure they do. Along with a little contraband snuggled in.
I baked you a cake.
Just don't run it through the X-ray machine.
Yeah, right. But no, it's a thought, right? Because this Father's Day, people are going to be celebrating. They're going to be doing their things with their family. Should we be more compassionate to those fathers who are in jail?
Sure. So it brings up when Loren was defining what makes a father, guiding the children, could that be done from someone that's incarcerated? As long as they can communicate with kids. And maybe the kids are learning,
What not to do?
possibly.
Hopefully.
Well, it depends on why they're in jail.
Right.
You could have.
Well, they were all framed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're innocent.
Yeah.
All of them.
No, but it's a tough one, right? Because a lot of churches do the prison ministry, and so I wonder if they do something through there. But I always look at the idea of Mother's Day and Father's Day to honor someone who's did a good job.
Sure. Well, we've had a number of cases where someone was actually wrongfully incarcerated for years and years and years.
Very rare.
Very rare, but it happens.
But people can change too, right? So
Yeah.
you could be one person when you go into jail or prison, and through the hardships of being in prison, you're like, you know what? I want to make sure my children have the right guidance.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
you know, as long as there's communication of some sort, you could still be a present in their life.
And influential.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully we actually had a guy speak at our church who actually admitted, he goes, I would deserve to be in jail. He goes, but from the day I was in there, all I wanted to do was see my kid. And hug my kid. He said, that's all I wanted to be able to do. And he said that was his focus of staying on the straight and narrow in there and getting out. You know, so he was very, very passionate in that way that he wanted to be that father figure. And I think a lot of it also, to that guy's, he said it was because he'd come to Jesus. And he looked at the biblical relationships within fatherhood and was like, that's what I want. I don't want to be the guy who my kids look at as the loser, who, you know, couldn't provide and got thrown in jail, was on the wrong side of the tracks, and that's my dad sort of thing. He didn't want to be that. So he made a conscious effort that I'm going to make this right in one way or another, which is admirable in a big way.
Yes, absolutely.
Because, you know, every sinner there's redemption, and hopefully this was his way of turning things around.
Overcoming that adversity made the character that he needed to develop to overcome that situation is much more significant than what a lot of other people do on just a day-to-day basis that are just phoning it in.
Yeah. So expectations for Father's Day. What do you expect, Loren?
I don't expect anything. For me, it's I get to have conversations with my kids. So whether it's card, no card, my kids will usually come back home for whatever, maybe a couple hours, but I get to spend time with my kids.
Right.
So I enjoy that. Something I was going to say though is I think we all should, if we still can, reach out to our own fathers and make sure that they know that they're appreciated.
Yeah.
And that, I think, we we focus on ourselves so much on Father's Day. It becomes your immediate family, but we don't always my kids are celebrating me. I still need to celebrate my father.
What about you, Great Expectations?
Time with family. I'm sure it'll be wrapped around a meal. Maybe another blindfolded scavenger hunt. If that's the case, cool. If not, that's fine too. For me, it's the time with the family. Pardon me.
Yeah, you guys enjoy this year because it falls on my wife's birthday. So, yeah.
So what are you making for dinner?
Yeah, exactly. So what happens? And we'll get close to some takeaways and a wrap. But what happens if father is a miserable bastard? Do you just ignore it and just?
Well, it's time for forgiveness. Right?
That's one way to look at it. Yeah.
Do you want to hold on to that hatred and anger because at some point they're not going to be around,
right?
And then you're going to have not regrets, but maybe you wish you had a conversation, said those things that you needed to be said.
And maybe that's the thing. Maybe you've got to have that conversation.
Yeah. Maybe we don't understand. So generationally, every generation, fathers kind of morph into something a little bit different, because my father was a lot different. He grew up my father was born in the 30s, so went through the Depression, and that is a lot different than modern day.
Yeah,
Like we were talking about earlier, we live in the most, easy time to live.
Yeah.
If I want a hot shower, great, I go have a hot shower. He grew up in a time where that didn't exist.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe we cut them a little bit of slack and.
Well, I to your point on if your own father is not something that you're overly excited about or proud of, the thought of how do you want to change that family tree? How do you want to change the course of history with your family name?
So it may not have been a perfect father-son relationship, but looking at the three of us in the room, I don't think whatever our fathers did in the past, even if they were bad, we turned out really well. You know, not every. I mean, I think.
Yeah, I know. See, I know that there's that ad that says, you know, you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent, and I think that's right. You just got to try.
You got to participate.
Yeah, you got to put that effort.
Get
in.
involved.
Be present. You know, just show your kids, show your family that you're going above and beyond, and not just die on their head.
Right. Right.
And that's what it comes down to. So, happy Father's Day to all the guys out there.
Yeah. Happy Father's Day. For all of you that are serving overseas, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And from us at Bonded Voices, I'm Ian.
This is Loren.
And I'm Greg.
And we'll see you next time. Have a great one.